The New York Times on March 8th, 1992 would come out with a breaking report that the Defense Planning Guidance, a blueprint for the department's spending priorities in the aftermath of the first Gulf War and the collapse of the Soviet Union, is leaked. The document causes controversy because it hadn't been scrubbed to replace candid language with euphemisms. The document would argue that the U.S. dominates the world as the sole superpower, and to maintain that role, it must maintain the mechanisms for deterring potential competitors from even aspiring to a larger regional or global role. As the Observer would write in their article dated April 7th, 2002, Nick Cohn would write, America's friends are potential enemies. They must be in a state of dependence and seek solutions to their problems in Washington. The document is mainly written by Paul Wolfowitz and Scooter Libby, who hold relatively low posts at the time, but become Deputy Defense Secretaries and Vice President's Chief of Staff, respectively, under George W. Bush. The authors conspicuously avoid mentioning of collective security arrangements through the United Nations, instead suggesting the United States should expect future coalitions to be ad hoc assemblies, often not lasting beyond the crisis being confronted. They call for punishing or threatening punishment against regional aggressors before they even act. Interests to be defended preemptively include access to vital raw materials, primarily Persian Gulf oil, proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and ballistic missiles, and threats to U.S. citizens from terrorism. The section describes U.S. interests in the Middle East, states that the overall objective is to remain the predominant outside power to the region and preserve U.S. and Western access to the region's oil, and to deter further aggression in the region, foster regional stability, protect U.S. nation and property, and safeguard access to international air and seaways. Senator Lincoln Chafee would later say, quote, "It is my opinion that Bush's plan for preemptive strikes was formed back at the end of the first Bush administration with that 1992 report. In response to the controversy, the United States releases an updated version of the document in May 1992, which stresses that the U.S. will work with the United Nations and its allies." Going back to Nick Cohn, who would write in The Observer on April 7, 2002, the tensions America's anarchic unilateralism creates are the greatest among the world's elite. European leaders have few problems with globalism, but can't stomach Bush unilaterally imposing steel tariffs, which makes a nonsense of the very free market America and Europe instruct the third world to embrace. They have all but begged America to be allowed a junior role in the war against terrorism. Their rejection puts them, somewhat to everyone's surprise, temporarily on the same side as the mass of the world's poor. The greatest worry a friend of America should have is how its inheritance, that it can leave no part of the world alone, has created anti-Americanism not only in Muslim countries, but in regions such as Latin America, where bin Laden's theology means nothing. If you dreamed that everyone might be your enemy, one day they may very well become just that.